I am doing my presentation on the Jean-Marie Tjibaou Cultural Center. You will find out later why the building itself is so significant, but for now let me introduce you to the Kanak culture. Based in New Caledonia, an island off Australia, but owned by France, this tribal way of life is based on music, dance, and relationships. The Kanaks typically lived in temporary type of buildings made with local materials. The materials they would use needed to be replaced time to time because of the subtropical climate. Though their way of life seemed to be quite simple, keeping the traditions alive was an on and off struggle. In other parts of the world, modernism was quickly evolving. There was a vast difference between the day in the life of the Kanak culture compared to the New Yorker. By the 1980s, the Kanaks were facing more conflict than they were used to. How would they keep their culture alive while not shutting themselves out from the modern world? Especially under the conditions of still being under the power of France, it was becoming harder to be an independent culture. In the early 1980s, the people of New Caledonia sang for their own freedom and raised a banner reading "Delegation of New Caledonia." They refused to march under the French flag and longed to be a country of their own. One very significant individual is named Jean-Marie Tjibaou. He was able to communicate the culture's need for identity while staying connected to the modern world. Jean-Marie became a leader of the pro-independence movement in the 1980s and stood strong on behalf of the Kanak people. In 1989, Jean-Marie Tjibaou was assassinated because of his potent vision for the future of his people. Not much else has been told about reasons why he had been killed, and to myself it seems a bit eerie. In result of this event, Tjibaou's vision was not abandoned but taken to new heights. Ideas began brewing within the culture in search of a way to honor his passion, but also to represent the aspiring culture and bring them together as a community. This is when the idea of the Jean-Marie Tjibaou Cultural Center was born. A well-respected Italian designer and architect, Renzo Piano, began the process of designing the building in 1990. He knew the expectations were set high. Not only was he designing a tourist village, but a place that would represent who they were to foreigners. Renzo Piano introduced many great ideas to contribute to the sustainability of the design. Green design, as we know, has become very well known. However, this project was instigated before the stress of green design really kicked off. The cultural center was to become one of the most green buildings around the world. Along with introducing new ideas on sustainability, Renzo Piano evokes the vernacular Kanak huts of New Caledonia, yet still exhibits a very modern feel. Somehow, with a mix of traditional and modern materials and modular shapes and traditional, the two work together. The cultural center took a duration of 8 years to build. Strategic planning, research, and sketching were involved. Models were created as miniature mock-ups to what is now the existing cultural center. This is just one example that was involved in the planning of the building. The cultural center was built on a peninsula in New Caledonia that protrudes into the Pacific Ocean. The surrounding landscape is hilly with a lot of plants and forest. Piano took this into consideration and designed the cultural center to flow with the landscape. It is comprised of 10 units called cases of varying sizes and different functions, which are linked by a long, curving, enclosed walkway. The layout of the project is meant to take advantage of the natural winds that come off the Pacific Ocean. The outer facade, composed of wood, filters the wind into a second layer of glass louvers which can open and close for natural ventilation. The cases were given a deliberate, unfinished appearance as a reminder that the Kanak culture is still in the process of becoming. The steel used in the construction of the building adds to the modern feel of the building. The Kanaks' traditional huts are only made of natural surrounding materials, so this was something new to them. The building was strategically planned for wind to enter the building coming off of the ocean. In a quote, piano refers to the sound of the wind passing through the hollow sections of his structures as the voice of the Kanak. He did a remarkable job at designing with their culture in mind and kept this as his focus throughout the entire design process. The center's main access is a series of covered walks, green spaces, outdoor rooms, and gardens that connect to the cases and to the smaller building housing offices. You can see on the cases in the background of this photo. These cases reflect what a typical Kanak hut would look like. The 10 pavilions are situated asymmetrically along the main path. Each is used for different functions, some for activities such as dance, others are an auditorium, an amphitheater, research areas, a conference room, and a library. It may have taken 8 years to build, but the Cultural Center has brought the Kanak culture together in community. It is crazy where their fight for independence led them. Jean-Marie Tjibaou wanted nothing more than the Kanak culture to be brought together and share their culture with the world. The Jean-Marie Cultural Center stands today representing the Kanak culture with pride and passion. Not only is the building itself phenomenal, but the story and the history behind it is as well. I'd love to visit this place one day. Wouldn't you?